Well, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump has had some pretty strong language for Barack Obama and some of the other top Democrats in relation to what Tulsi Gabbard has recently revealed, the supposed 230K files of potential incriminating evidence in relation to Barack Obama, potentially drumming up fake evidence involving the Russia hoax during his lame duck period, specifically a meeting in early December of 2016. That's after Trump won, but before he entered. So it was during the final months of the Obama presidency. I'm going to give my opinion on this and talk about how, anything they're releasing right now, it's going to seem disingenuous. It's going to seem like a distraction. And I would imagine they were probably sitting on a lot of this stuff, and there was potentially going to be looking into when it comes to, I think, one of the key things, if you are Trump, would be the investigation of January 6th, specifically the security detail and what the Democrats recommended in the days leading up. I think that's something that Trump could potentially rewrite. They're also talking about maybe looking into the election. We haven't seen much on that, but it's mainly been the stuff surrounding the Russia hoax with Obama. And what I'll say on this is it really is the boy who cried wolf, with Trump now coming out with all these gifts saying that they're going to arrest Obama. And it's this AI video imagery of Obama being put in handcuffs with Trump laughing. And this is the type of stuff we saw with Hillary back in 2016, 2017. Trump didn't end up moving on that, or he did not end up moving on that. But you wonder, I mean, is something going to happen now that Gabbard has revealed all of this? Is there going to be some type of arrest? It seems like most people are not really moved by it because of the timing in relation to the Epstein stuff. Now there's reports that the Republicans within Congress are delaying potentially voting on Epstein-related matter to have a recess until early September. It's not good stuff. And so the question is, will anything actually come of this? And so we're going to watch this. This is what Trump said earlier today, announces and declares that former President Obama is guilty of treason. This is what Trump said earlier today.
If you look at those papers, they have them stone cold, and it was President Obama. It wasn't lots of people all over the place. It was them too. But the leader of the gang was President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? And except for the fact that he gets shielded by the press for his entire life, that's the one look, he's guilty. It's not a question, I like to say, let's give it time. It's there, he's guilty. This was treason. This was every word you can think of. They tried to steal the election. They tried to obfuscate the election. They did things that nobody's ever even imagined, even in other countries. You've seen some pretty rough countries. This man has seen some pretty rough countries, but you've never seen anything like it. And we have all of the documents. And from what Tulsi told me, she's got thousands of additional documents coming. So President Obama, it was his concept, his idea, but he also got it from crooked Hillary Clinton. Crooked is a $3 bill.
Right, and so there's Trump kind of outlining, well, he really didn't talk about he just says Obama's guilty of treason. The idea is that they drummed up fake allegations and, I guess, fake evidence against Trump, which put in place really a 2.5 to 3 year Russian probe, which CNN and all the mainstream media repeated as Trump being an illegitimate president. It really is remarkable, the hypocrisy of Democrats, when you look at how irregular the 2020 election is, and the Democrats getting all angry at Trump for not accepting the results when they didn't accept the results for 2.5, 3 years. And they had investigations and wasted millions and millions of dollars. And the amount of hours that were poured into these investigations into Russia, and Trump colluding with the Russians. And remember, that's the only way they said that Trump could win, was with Russia collusion. That was 3 years of the presidency. And many liberals still cling to this. The only reason Trump won in 2016 was because of Russia. And a lot of it is because it's such a bad look for their party to keep saying this over and over again, and then it get proven to be a lie, and then say, okay, we're sorry. They can't do that. They can't admit it. They still say, well, he's guilty because X, Y, and Z, and there's these relations, even after the 2024 election, in which Trump won the popular vote. He won every swing state. they still can't accept that 2016 result because it's such a terrible look when you factor everything in. So the question is, this is the issue, right? It really comes down to a situation like this when you release all of this information and there's like 10 different things you have to cobble together to get Obama maybe being guilty of something. You really need to have a strong message for the party and for your propaganda base in terms of what exactly is Obama guilty of. Give us 3 or 4 lines that are clear and concise that we can cite, instead of all of this just conjumbled stuff of, oh yeah, Obama was in some type of meeting and they had admitted that the intelligence community in December of 2016, right after the election, had admitted there was no Russian interference. The issue with stuff like that tends to be, well, if that's just one report, what if they, someone else came out a week later and said, we've got X, Y, and Z. We're looking, it's very hard to prove all of this in an ironclad way that you can say, well, that's it. Obama's guilty. Obama definitely manipulated this evidence and created fake evidence, or his administration did, to try and drum up some type of Russia investigation and make Trump's presidency seem illegitimate. It has to be something like that. But again, it's already going to be discredited to a degree because of the timing of it in relation to Epstein. I mean, it's the most obvious thing ever that Tulsi Gabbard would do this, and then you've also got the MLK files being declassified, and so it's like, it's too obvious and it's too ridiculous, and it makes it seem like whatever this is against Obama, which it's obvious they are trying to shift the narrative away from Epstein, it loses momentum. It loses significant momentum because it feels just, conjured up in a way so people stop talking about Epstein. And I think that's the big problem that many people have when you're talking about, what Trump is doing. And then obviously to kind of overscore everything, it's just the idea that, well, even saying you're going to arrest the deep state for years, what's really happened here? Is there going to be I mean, people at this point, it's like, you need to do something. Enough of these gifs, enough of these videos. People are, it's just, and this has been something with me and the conservative party to where it's like, all these people get so excited about these figures getting arrested, but it never happens. Nothing ever happens. You keep talking about it, but nothing happens. So now Trump says, well, Obama is guilty. It's all right there. But let's get a coherent message as to 2 or 3 lines. Why is he guilty? What did he do exactly? Let's get that out, and then people can run with it. And I agree. I think the Democrats certainly did try and manipulate that Russian probe and make it seem worse than it was. And obviously, there was nothing there that would really destroy Trump in terms of any type of collusion with Russia, and the way in which Russia somehow colluded through propaganda in the U.S. election to help Trump. It's remarkable that probe lasted 2.5, 3 years, and it was used by liberals to try and delegitimize the Trump presidency. Again, it's ironic how they clutched their pearls in 2021 after a very irregular election during the heart of COVID and said, well, Trump can't deny it. And then, again, another thing that Trump really should look into is the House Republican report of Trump demanding the National Guard 3 days before January 6th. If they would have had the National Guard at January 6th, there's no way the protesters, the rioters, whatever you want to call them, there's no way they're breaking into the Capitol if you've got the National Guard there. Trump is requesting the National Guard. Liberals denied it because liberals wanted the event to be as bad as humanly possible so they could gain political capital and ammo against Trump. And obviously they did that. That's why Trump got banned off of all of social media. They thought they destroyed the entire movement after January 6th. So I think there's a number of things that should be looked into for sure. But with something like this, it's like, we're going back and we've got the timing of this that just shows that they're trying to skirt out of the Epstein situation. And you've also got this report. The U.S. House has canceled Thursday's session and will begin the August recess early, returning September 2nd. There's reports that, well, they don't want to vote on any Epstein-related matters because they don't want the files to be revealed, or whatever it even is at this point. I mean, most people say the files are gone, they don't exist. Some people think they do exist. Whatever is still there. There are some court documents that they've asked. I know Pam Bondi has asked because the administration was pressured and they're trying to give the base something. Those are potentially going to be unsealed, some type of court documents. We will see. You've also got this Tulsi Gabbard running for president in 2028. I don't think so. Tulsi, maybe as the VP. I mean, would she really run against Vance? It seems unlikely in terms of that. And then you've also got this Jerome Powell has not resigned. So there's just all these just fake reports about Jerome Powell resigning, not resigning, having this big meeting, having this announcement at 8:30 this morning. There was a report a week ago that he was resigning. It seems like this is a bunch of Trump people just pressuring the hell out of Powell to step down. That's what it feels like to me. Powell really hasn't said he's going to step down. He still has his term through May of 2026, but there is a lot of pressure on Powell. They are trying to remove him. They cannot remove him without clause. Trump cannot just remove him, or he would have already been gone. If the president could just remove the chairman of the Fed, he would be gone. But they need clause. And so that's why they're trying to get him for some type of overspending or cost overruns on what they, I mean, this is like a crazy renovation to the federal office building, which they call like the Palace of Versailles as a nickname because it's so the grandeur of it, it's magnificent. And it's just like, well, why is it $2.5 billion? It was overrun by like 900 million, they were saying. So they're trying to find something to get this dude out because they can't get him out with just Trump's executive authority. So, I mean, they're just, this is all public pressure. You know, it's a public pressure campaign. Remember, they leaked 2 weeks ago. People within the administration leaked that Powell was going to be gone. And I said, I think it's just hearsay. I think they're probably making it up because they want to pressure Powell into leaving. And then it comes out, well, there's going to be this big announcement from Powell. And I mean, there was a report today from like a few different accounts that had check marks, which obviously is meaningless at this point for X. But, you know, these are like relatively big Trump accounts. Powell has resigned. And of course, no, he hasn't. But it's a lot of it's just pressure. They're trying to pressure him out. And I still think there will be cuts with Powell. There have to be. I mean, you look at some of the top AI predictive models, they predict cuts even with Powell. They say there's going to be 2 cuts by the end of the year. The Fed Watch tool says there's like a 60% chance of 2 cuts of 0.25 by the end of the year. So I think there's still going to be cuts, even with the recent, slight uptick in inflation and the recent uptick in the tariffs. Now we'll see. I mean, there's a new deadline on the tariffs. I think maybe those will be negotiated down. We'll have to see what happens on August 1st, but there's all this pressure on Powell. So we'll have to see in terms of that. But guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you like it down below. Also follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.